You are the committee chair of the newly created House Creative Industry and Performing Arts Committee. And related to this, you have a proposal that a lot of our viewers, a lot of freelancers out there will be very interested on. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so we filed, rather refiled from the previous Congress, the Freelancers Protection Act, but this is the farthest that it's come. It's actually passed on third and final reading already in the lower house. Basically, this provides for some standard protections for our freelancers. Marami sila. Robbie, they're nasa 1.2 to 1.5 million based on the registered accounts on freelancer.ph. But a PayPal survey estimated them at 2% of our population. So that's like 3.6 million.
Yeah.
And in this bill, some of the protections provided for are dapat may kontrata bago mag-render ng services ang isang freelancer. It's protection for both the freelancer and the hiring party. And in the contract, nakastipulate yung minimum provisions, like what are the services that need to be rendered, what are the details of the compensation, and what's the rate, the method, and the schedule of payment. Yun yung pinaka-importante kasi minsan tapos na yung services, hindi pa rin binabayaran si freelancer.
Yeah. So apart from compensation, what other benefits are you intending to provide kung sakasakaling this thing is enacted into law? Kasi hindi naman pwedeng tenure yan, di ba? Kasi karamihan by project eh.
Yeah. Well, besides the institutionalization of entering into a contract, it also provides for unlawful acts that shall be committed, and there are penalties for committing such. So what are these unlawful acts? One is late payment of the compensation, which shall be 15 days after the date of payment as stated in the contract, or where there is no contract, 15 days after the rendition of services. So hindi pwedeng humigit ng 2 weeks na hindi nagbabayad in full sa freelancer. Another one is when nagkasundo na, for example, you're gonna get an X amount for the services that you'll render, and then biglang pag nag-commence ng services, nag-change yung terms, parang humingi ka ng discount, you know, or parang nag-haggle ka para bumaba. So that's not allowed. Another unlawful act is if there's an act of retaliation against the freelancer for doing the following, like for example, filing a complaint against the hiring party, or testifying.
Non-disclosure agreements, no? Mga ganon.
Yeah.
Kahit inaapi-api na hindi pwedeng magsalita.
At saka what about, I mean, in the arts and the creative sector, what about the protection of the intellectual property of the freelancers? Lalong-lalo na yung mga kukontratahin kunwari, ang daming nangyaring ganyan, di ba? Pagkatapos may draft, may first version, at the end, hindi sa'yo napunta yung kontrata, tapos nagamit pa rin yung ginamit mo. Is this part of the considerations here?
Well, actually, that's in another piece of legislation that because we actually have a package of policy tools, not just the freelance bill. I mean, we have the creative industry development bill, but we're also amending the intellectual property code to provide, stronger protections for the freelancers. Although that is touched upon in part dun sa Eddie Garcia bill, just has also passed in third and final reading, in which one of the provisions in that bill is that the performer will have the capacity to participate in remuneration rights inalienably, meaning to say, in the subsequent broadcasts of their films, kailangan nagkakaroon pa rin sila ng bayad. Kasi in the current regime, medyo sometimes they sign away their remuneration rights, and so parang one-time, big-time bagsakan, ito yung bayad, magsastar ka sa pelikula. And then pag ipapalabas yung pelikula years later, wala nang kabayaran.
During the deliberations, what were the most contentious issues? Kasi you consulted different sectors of the industries involved, ano?
Mhm.
Ano yung pinakamahirap na ano?
Well, siguro, going back to the freelance bill, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier, diba?
Yes.
We also provided for night shift differential and hazard pay. So the night shift differential is a 10% premium for work rendered between 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. And the hazard pay is a 25% premium if the freelancer will be deployed to dangerous areas as defined in the bill. So like strife-torn or embattled locations, distressed or isolated stations, prison camps, mental hospitals, laboratories or disease-infected areas, etc. And that was sort of opposed by the sectors representing, the hiring parties
Yes.
or the employers. But we were able to arrive at a compromise such that there was one clause included in the bill na it says unless a more favorable stipulation is provided for in the contract. Kasi you can't naman compute the fees for the freelancer on an hourly basis because
Right.
freelancers
Kasi per
provide
project, di ba?
So
package.
ano yung favorable? Ano yung
Siguro yung
more
mas mataas?
favorable stipulations?
Oo.
Mas mataas na
Mas mataas
talent fee
siguro.
ba yan? Or ganun ba yan?
Yeah,
Is
no,
that
I mean, a more favorable is, definitely if it's well above the minimum wage that they're going to be getting for the services that will be rendered, then it's really up to the freelancer to be able to come to the negotiating table, diba, with the hiring party and say, okay, you know what, I'm entitled to a night shift differential, I'm entitled to a hazard pay. I hope that it can be taken into consideration as we enter into contract. And then, pag nagkasundo na yung hiring party and freelancer, edi yun na yun.